Calxiyn and Hunter here. If you guys enjoyed this video, you guys should be on patrons over on Patreon to support the channel, but you guys should subscribe. So today we're going to be talking about whether or not Adam is actually dead. And I have some feelings on this, so we'd better get into them. So we kind of did this with Cinder, but we divided the video into dead and not dead. I want to do dead first because that's the one that I think. So here are my points, okay? Here are my.
He was stabbed twice in the chest, thrown down a mountain, hit off the side of a cliff, and is now drowning. Yeah, no, I think he's fucking dead.
Okay.
I think he's dead. It's been a while since I stabbed the guy twice in the chest and thrown him off a bridge where he hit the side of the cliff and then drowned. But I think normally for humans, they die after that. You know, after they get stabbed twice, both in the chest and in the back, and then thrown off the cliff, hit the side of the cliff, and then drown in the water. Okay. That you die after you do that? Yeah, I think he's dead. Okay.
Anyway, so here's sort of my point one, and Hunter, feel free to play devil's advocate if you feel like it. But Miles and Carrie have done how many fake out deaths by now?
Just one that I can think of.
Cinder. Weiss.
Okay. Cinder and Weiss.
I feel like there's something else in here. I mean, I would say I would say Ozpin and Salem, but they can reincarnate. So
well, Ozpin did die, like he did. I mean, he got better. He came back.
He came back. He
came back, but he did die, like Cinder did murk him in the basement.
Here's the problem, okay?
Yeah.
Say that we were in Volume 14, and Cinder's fake-out death happened in Volume 6, or Volume 5. I would be like, well, it's been a substantial amount of time since we've had a fake-out death, right? But we're not in Volume 14, we're in Volume 7, and so we're in Volume 6. And so really, it's barely been one volume, because Cinder's fake-out really happened in this volume. Like, we found out she was alive in this volume, right?
Well, we didn't know if she was dead. Like, there were, like, some debate.
I mean, we made a video debate.
All she did is that you saw her dip into blackness. You didn't see her, I don't know, get stabbed twice, thrown down a cliff, get hit off the side of that cliff, and then drown in the water.
Is she gonna be alive? Is she gonna be dead?
You didn't see that.
Right? And so here's the thing about that, right? It's too soon. If Miles and Carrie do 2 villain fake-out deaths and a character fake-out death, all in, like, the span of barely a volume. I say barely a volume because it wasn't like it happened in episode 1, and then now this is happening Volume 6, episode 12, to have, like, a, 20-episode gap, right? It's, like, last season, volume, 13 or 14 or 12, right? This all happened, and now it's volume 14 and or volume 13 and 12 again that this is happening. So if they did it, I would kind of side eye and be like, really, even from a writer's perspective, no, don't do that.
Because he had a complete arc. He was finished.
He was done. Let him rest.
He can die.
We did another video about Adam's arc.
And Blake and Yang's arc revolving around him is done, so he can die. And I feel like they communicated to us that he was dead when they stabbed him twice, watched him bleed out, kicked him off a cliff, hit the side of the cliff, and then drowned in the water. I feel like when they did that,
so I have meta reasons,
it was to communicate to us that he's dead.
So that's my first meta reason.
Yes.
It would be too soon to do another fake out. My second meta reason is Miles and Carrie have said before, when somebody is dead, they are dead. Okay? Roman's not coming back, right?
Penny ain't probably not coming back. Although there could be another Penny.
Pyrrha's not coming back. Like, Miles and Carrie have said that they do not like the idea of, just faking out the audience. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you thought this person was dead?
They did stab Weiss in the, I mean, that had a purpose. That had a purpose.
We knew she would
but
be
the purpose wasn't great.
Right, and so that's, we don't talk about Volume 5 on this channel. So that was Volume 5, right? But Cinder coming back makes sense because we didn't see her die. You know what I mean? Like, Roman, when Miles and Carrie are like, if somebody dies on screen, they're dead, they're talking about Roman being eaten by a Grimm, they're talking about Pyrrha, and how Pyrrha disintegrated, and people still think that they're alive somehow.
And they're talking about Adam being stabbed twice, thrown off a cliff, hitting the side of the cliff, and drowning in the lake below.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that when Miles and Carrie say that they're gonna kill someone, usually they just fucking kill them. Cinder is, if anything, a special case because
Well, you didn't know.
Exactly. You didn't. It's not like Cinder was eaten by a Grimm and then you see her cut open the Grim.
It's not like she
it's not
was
like
stabbed
that.
and you saw the light slowly fade from her eye as she, fell off a cliff and then her limp body hit the side of the cliff and then fell in the water.
I get it, Hunter.
Sunk deep into the depths, presumably because all the water was filling his lungs. It's not like they did that with Cinder. I think he's pretty definitively in the ground.
Here's my third meta reason.
Yes.
Okay? His arc is over. And we talked about his character arc in another video. Like, it's done. And I saw Vex say this on Twitter, so I'm going to say it again in this video. But Vex said something like, Rooster Teeth had a problem. They killed the problem. Like, they got rid of the problem, right? And regardless of how you feel about Adam, I relate to that sentiment. Like, yeah, they killed him and he was useless and he wasn't necessarily good moving forward, so he's dead. He has no purpose going forward to do anything else.
He made a good fight scene,
Yeah.
And he's dead.
He's dead.
That's okay.
And so here's the not dead people, right? Mm-hmm. So there are a couple things. If Adam is Weiss's brother, how is that going to be resolved?
Maybe he's not his
my fault because I made that theory. Now
maybe he's not Weiss's brother. Maybe he's just fucking dead.
Maybe he is, and we'll see that later. But he can still be dead.
Well, my guess was that Adam was going to look up and Yang tell tell Weiss. Her brother says hi, and then she's like, "What?" And then he kicks her off the,
I like that
cliff as the light fades from his eyes,
I think
and he hits
Adam
the side of
still,
the cliff and
the
then drowns deep into the water.
I think Adam can still be related to Weiss without him having to be there. Like, if it's something that she finds out later that happens in Atlas,
maybe.
It's sort of one of those things where even though Adam's dead, and I said this in our arc video,
maybe it could
his
be something
lasting
that
effect is going to happen for the rest of the team, to some extent. Probably not RWBY and Weiss as much. But
every time you see Yang's lovely robot arm, you'll think, oh yeah, he did that.
Yeah, and so Adam has a lasting effect on the story with Blake and Yang and sort of how they deal with each other and their trauma and whatever, right? And so if in Atlas, the first thing Blake is going to think of if she sees Sneed Just Company branded people is Adam, right? And so even though Adam is dead, if they are going to do something with his character, they can. Right, like if they are going to make it so he can help develop like Weiss's sort of story arc against the Sneed Dust Company, like he can. It just doesn't need to be him. It could be like Weiss sees all these people, and then Blake is sort of like, Adam had a scar like that too, right
over his eye.
Right over his eye.
I don't know why they get it on their chest and he got it on his eye, but he was a bit of an asshole. Mm-hmm. Anyways,
something like that.
Like that.
For the people that are supporting that storyline, I love y'all because y'all like my theory. But it can happen without him. He doesn't need to live for that. For the people that want Adam to join in with Cinder and Neo, I feel you, I guess. Like, I get it. Like,
do you?
Kind of like Cinder dragging Adam's body out of the water, and like, because they're
and because she could grimify him.
There's team revenge. Like, that's what they are. Neo wants revenge on RWBY. Cinder wants revenge on RWBY. Adam wants revenge on Blake and Yang. And maybe Weiss, if he figures out that Weiss
and fuck it, might as well also get RWBY.
Yeah, while he's at it, right? So I get why people want that. Like, I understand why people want Adam to join up with them, because his sort of revenge arc fits in well with Cinder and Neo. However, if they were going to do that, I don't think that they should have done anything with him in this volume. I think that he should have met up with Cinder and Neo at the beginning, and they just all went to Atlas together. And then they would have their revenge team together. But I can't see them doing it now that he's had this whole sort of arc and he's fallen off the cliff. You know, like, there was a time and place to do that, and it was before. That's just my opinion on that, right?
I feel lucky for the person who's, like, gone fishing by the creek and he just finds, like, Roman's sword floating by. I'm like, neato!
You mean Adam's?
Adam's sword floating by.
So
neato. Here's
the third thing that people are saying. And this is also our fault. Because we covered that theory about Adam being a Grimm. Adam can still turn into a Grimm without being a humified Grimm, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people are like, well, Cal, wouldn't that be bringing him back to life? No, because people do these artworks of Pyrrha being Grimmified, right? But she's basically a humanoid person with a Grimm color scheme, like Salem. When I say that I want Adam to turn into a Grimm, I mean for him to, like, be an actual Grimm. And
not like a Salem.
So to make
like
a comparison, right? this is spoilers, I guess. Somebody was like, Cal, did you just spoil Attack on Titan? And I was like, it's in the 2nd season, so like I don't know what constitutes as a spoiler for like a season 2 of a show that's like 2 years old at this point or whatever. But basically in Attack on Titan, we find out that Titans are people that have somehow been turned into Titans, right? And that's just sort of to bring the number of Titans up in the, like, Titan army, maybe. We don't really know why yet, like, in the show. But that's sort of, like, people are like, well, what use would anybody even get out of turning Adam into a Grimm? And it's, like, it's sort of like that same concept with turning people into Titans. Like, if Salem just sees this body full of rage that would be good for negative emotion and darkness, and she's like, all right, I'll make a Grimm out of that. Cool, you know, like, it's just one of those things where, yeah, it would be very Attack on Titan-ish. It's like, well, why would they turn humans into Titans? Like, bitch, we don't know. Like, we don't know. We don't know if it's to sort of freak people out or to make the numbers of Titans higher, right? Like, Salem could just do it because she feels like it, and they have to fight it not knowing that it's actually Adam, and that would kind of bring him, like, not bring him back, but put him in the story for a bit longer if people really feel.
But I feel like that's just kind of redundant. Like, that's just like, might as well just pick a different big Grimm. Might as well fight an octopus Grimm.
So yeah, those are why people are saying that he's alive, like for those 3 different reasons. So to be Grimmified, to be part of Cinder and Neo's team. What was the first one I said? Cinder and Neo's team, to turn into a Grimm. Oh, to be Weiss's brother.
Yes.
And, like, just climb out of the dirt and be like, so Weiss, like, hey, we're related, right? All of these things can be done without him to some extent. Like, Cinder and Neo still have their revenge arc without Adam. They don't need Adam there. And Neo had an encounter with Yang, right? And so it's sort of like, you know, it's not just like, oh, Cinder's going after Ruby, Neo's going after Ruby, somebody needs to go after Blake and Yang, right? Because Blake fought Roman on the train, didn't she? In Volume 2? Yes. Blake fought Roman for a minute.
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
And Yang fought Neo, and so it's not just, like, Neo almost fucking killed Yang, so I'm sure Yang has a couple bones to pick, you know what I mean? So it's not just like, oh, one villain can only be, like, want revenge on one person. It's like, no, Neo could want to fuck up all of Team RWBY, because she's like, oh, I remember when that bitch fought me on the train, and I remember when that other bitch fought Roman on the train, you know what I mean? And so it's sort of that, like, they're not necessary. We don't need to do that. So yeah, I hope Adam stays dead. If there is a fake out death, I'll be pretty disappointed in Miles and Carrie, to be honest. Like, no tea, no shade. I still love you guys, you know, like, but I'll be like, really? Like, this is what we're doing? Okay, like, you know, a little, like, I'm not mad at you, Miles. I'm disappointed. Like, why would you do that?
I think they're pretty.
I think he's pretty dead.
Because, you know, he got stabbed
I can't wait for RWBY Rewind this week when, like, somebody goes on and confirms he's actually dead, and this whole video is just, like, redundant, but that's fine.
And then drowned in the water.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy.
People die after they do that.
And we will see you later. Bye. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you guys want to support the channel, you guys should be patrons just like our wonderful patrons whose names will come on the screen now. $10 patrons get videos sometimes 2 weeks in advance, sometimes 3 weeks in advance, basically much, much earlier than anyone else. They can also request us to do a video for them, so this could be a reaction, a theory, a discussion, anything like that. Our $5 patrons get a week in advance early access, or somewhere within that time frame, so between 2 days early and 7 days early, basically, but usually it's 7 days early, because I'm good with my scheduling. Anyway, our $1 patrons and all of our patrons above the $1 tier get access to our Discord server, so if you guys want to talk with us, talk with other fans of whatever you're watching right now, you guys can, and I hope that we will see you there. Bye.